y'all, so I just wanted to get on here and share why I personally joined the Catholic Church. I was raised Baptist, so a lot of my fundamental beliefs, my just childhood core beliefs, were rooted in the Baptist denomination. And then my family, after COVID hit, we started going to the Methodist church next door just because it was closer. All of my dad's family went there. And so we made that transition, and so from that I learned a lot about the Methodist church. Well, me and this guy, we were talking about our faith. He was Catholic. He didn't have all the answers. He didn't know just a ton. We were both young. But I remember kind of challenging him on his faith, because Catholics worship Mary and they worship saints, they pray to Mary. All that's not true, by the way. But he said to me, he pretty much was like, I don't know how to defend my faith. I'm not that strong in it just yet. He kind of made that clear, but I remember he said this and it stuck with me. He said, but if you could talk with my dad, you would become Catholic. He was like, I know so many people that they become Catholic from talking with my dad. And so I thought to myself after that, I was like, wow, that's a really bold statement. And it just kind of, one, planted the seed, two, it challenged me, it challenged my faith. And it just made me a lot more curious just about the Catholic Church. And one day somebody said something that it just really struck me as wrong. And it occurred to me how it can be so easy to misinterpret the Bible and make our own interpretation of Scripture. And so from there, I decided I want to be correct. I want to know in my heart that I'm doing all that I can to understand Scripture in the way that it is intended to come across. Because I fully believe that there is a message behind each and every Bible verse, and we are meant to interpret that message in the way that it was intended to be interpreted. And so another situation that just really pushed me to dive in deeper was being raised Baptist. I was raised with the core belief that once you're saved, you're always saved. And also, I noticed not all Baptists believe that. And that also just contributed to my just wanting to know the truth and realization that there can be so much misinterpretation. And so in this Methodist church, the belief that once you're saved, you're always saved, that was not supported. And so that really challenged a core belief that I'd grown up with. And I asked myself, what denomination did Jesus start? Or what was the closest to what Jesus left behind? And that was the question that, the answer to that question, I was going to explore that faith or that denomination. So to my surprise, I found that it was Catholicism, and that really threw me off because I'd been raised to believe that, or everyone around me believed that Catholics worship Mary, they worship saints, and they practice idolatry, and many other things that are incorrect. And then I sat down with one of my sorority sisters one day, and we just had a really deep conversation about faith and our morals, and we were probably 2 hours into the conversation before she told me that she was Catholic. And then after that, I was like, no way. I've been researching the Catholic Church, and I've just been so curious. Please let me come to church with you. And so I went to church with her that Sunday, and as soon as I walked in, I felt the Lord like I'd never felt Him before. And immediately I knew, even though I didn't have the knowledge, I didn't have the answers, I immediately knew that that was what was right for me. And so that Sunday, I went to the deacon and I joined RCIA. It's called OCIA now. And I began the process of becoming Catholic and being confirmed into the Catholic Church. And every single question that I had, I researched it and I proved it to be correct using Scripture, using my Protestant Bible. And so that is a huge part of my journey. I had a lot of questions. I definitely didn't just go in blind, but I will say, when I first walked in the doors, I felt a God impulse. I'm so thankful for God bringing me to the Catholic Church and bringing me to the full truth. I believe that every denomination has some form of truth, but I believe that the Catholic Church has been blessed with the full truth. And that is something that I appreciate so much about the Catholic Church. Years and years of history, tradition, you name it. There's so much research behind the Catholic Church and the Catholic Church teachings. The devil, he knows Scripture. And one of his manipulation tactics is to use half-truths. And it is so easy to be misled using partial truths, half-truths. So one way that I find confidence in the fact that I'm protecting myself from the enemy and all of his evil forces is knowing that I am surrounding myself with the fullness of truth